We continue our candidate interviews. Have you voted your ballot yet? Oh, hold off. Well, you might want to hold off until Friday. If you're in District 4 specifically, we're talking to you today, but this is really for everyone when we have our candidates in here. And our District 4 candidate, Janice Deccio, joins us this morning. Good morning, Janice. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning. It's my pleasure.
Janice, you've sat probably in that very chair before.
A couple times.
Any of your history in the days, you've been very involved in communications and public information, that sort of thing over the years.
Yes.
But for those folks who don't have the privilege of knowing your backstory like we do, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
What you're up to and family and all of that.
Okay. Well, I've been here in Yakima for 60 years. That sounds bad. And I'm a Davis 77 graduate and went to Central Washington University to get my mass media journalism degree. That's when I started my career in marketing, advertising, that sort of thing. I've worked at a few the hospital, mental health, and I'm currently working at Catholic Charities, which also delivers behavioral health services. So I'm really interested in healthcare. That's why when I was about in my late 40s, I decided to get a master's degree in healthcare administration from University of Washington. I am living in the house that I grew up in.
Are you really?
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes, I love it.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
Your room is now what?
It's my husband's vinyl den.
It is? Okay. I just got to know. I mean,
Yeah, he's
that's
got
cool.
like 1,000 albums in
That's
there.
cool. All right. All right.
So that's really cool, and I'm glad we have a house, and that we can afford it. A lot of people can't here in town right now, but and I like to garden and cook and sing. I was in the Yakima Valley Light Opera Company. I did a couple of just fun fronts for bands, for rock bands.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I had a cupcake business for a while. And I was also a licensed massage therapist, and I worked with your wife.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
there's a connection back there, too.
Yeah.
Well, so a lot of different things, been in the community, went to schools here and up at Ellensburg, so safe to say you have a pretty good perspective on what Yakima is all about, right?
I do.
And so what was the motivator then for you to decide to jump in? Because you can't look at our city council and say, after the last, say, 5-6 years and go, well, there's a group I'd like to be part of.
Exactly.
They've been under some self-inflicted wound results and things like that. So tell us a little bit about the motivation, and then we got to get to the elephant in the room. So
Right.
yeah.
I might be a bit of a masochist, maybe, but I've been interested in politics all my life, really. I mean, I remember debating with my dad when I was a teenager about what was going on in the world, and I was single for a long time, so I didn't really have time to really do anything other than
Continue to make a living, right?
right,
Yeah.
and then support some candidates along the way or whatever, or the party or whatever. But now that I'm almost ready to retire, I will have some time to devote to doing that, and so I want to give back to my community, and I know Yakima has a lot of potential. And I'd like to see something happen, that is part of that. See it shine, I guess is what I'm saying. And I'd like to do something while I'm in there, if I can, to help that happen. And just bring positivity and accountability to the council.
There's a lot of folks who love this community and as you do, see potential and look for ways to be able to make it better in the face of an awful lot of people in our community who don't love being here and don't work at anything other than bad mouth in the city and all of that. So,
Yes.
someone who's going to take office has to know that they'll face that crowd as well.
Mm-hmm.
You are part of, sort of indirectly, but directly, part of a sort of a, what's the right word? There's accusations being made that a sitting council member, Sanea Lund, had a text exchange with your husband with the idea that she gets advices for how best for you to, quote, erase your past or portions of your past so that you were seen as a more viable candidate. And along the way, in that conversation that allegedly occurred between her and your husband, some fairly horrific things were expressed. Now, we don't know if I don't know if it's true. I'm going to ask you all this in a second. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's in jest. I don't know if it's 2 a.m. and I've had a few and I'm texting now and bragging and joking and kidding around, or if it's a very serious thing. But clearly you've been made aware of it. You've seen it. It's accusation involves your husband in this text thing on your behalf. On the one hand, yay, hubby go to bat for me. On another,
Right.
holy crap, like this. I mean, what? So, given the nature of all of this, we have to ask you, what's your take on it? And to be honest with you, I applaud your pluck in being in here and knowing that that's going to be part of the conversation. So, good on you for coming in, and here's your chance to explain what you can about all of that.
Okay, this is what I know. On the day that message, it was a direct message, came to be. It looked like Sonia has said that her phone was stolen during that time, so it may not have even been her. And because I don't know her, it was very odd to me that I received a text from her saying, "Hey, please call me." So I called her, and she said, if you don't get Xander's emails and stuff social media under control, you're going to lose this election. And I'm just thinking, this is an awfully odd message from someone I don't even know, never met. And I was kind of taken aback. I should have said, hey, my husband can do whatever he wants on social media. He's not running. But so I said, and Xander happened to be in the room when this call came through, and he heard it. So he was not happy. So I left. I just said, yeah, okay, bye. And later that night, I guess, my husband is a disabled Air Force vet with PTSD. So things trigger him, and when they do, he stews on it. So he decided later that night to DM her, and his first question is, so what am I supposed to do to make Janice win? It was like that.
It's what is it that you find problematic with what I've done to this point?
Right. It wasn't like, hey, let's get together and, find out how we can destroy the enemy. It wasn't anything like that. He wanted to find out what she was thinking and why. And so then she began to talk, and he was just kind of like, okay, and shocked at some of the things she said. But like I said, we don't even know it was her at this point.
Is there any way to determine that, or are any sort of officials trying to determine that?
I think so. I know someone else that read it said, this isn't Sonia's voice. I mean, this is not how she talks. And so, but I don't know enough about her to know that.
Okay.
But I do know that I had nothing whatsoever to do with that conversation. It had, and it wasn't about my social media. It was about his.
Were you sleeping while all this was going on?
I was.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So, it's, and then of course, we forget about it because, we kind of laughed it off. He actually, blocked her after that because he didn't really want to have anything to do. He hadn't any contact with her after that. And then all of a sudden, it came out that City Hall had it, and someone, I think we know who, decided to, pluck it out and spread it around. And then that fun little flyer appeared on our porch, which I know who did it. We have him on camera. We know what group he belongs to, and they're all in bed together. And so. Yeah, and I've been getting, just yesterday, I received a direct message threat to my, saying, pull out now, you're going to.
This won't end well for you.
This won't end well for me.
Jeez, really?
Yeah, no kidding, man. I just read it, and it is very threatening.
I'm going to the police after this. They're going to look at it because that's a threat.
And all of this, to what? Embarrass you out so that someone else could win, in your opinion, or to punish Sonea for some reason, or I mean, what's
I think both. I think a little bit of both.
yeah?
Yeah, because this person that did the flyer, he's been kind of harassing my husband for a few years. This started when K-Funk ran, and the whole rain shadow report happened, and that the person who was running against K actually had to pay the district $1, everybody in the district $1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Keith Effler.
Right, Keith Effler.
He was leading in the primary, and
Right.
that all came out.
It blew up
and
in his face.
Dr.
Yeah.
Dr. Funk was able to win.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is the same person and that did it, and you would think would learn their lesson by now, but no, their tactics are disruption, and that's what they're trying to do.
All right, so let's move on to other things here, but to wrap it up this way. So as far as you're concerned, you don't have conclusive proof as to who the other person was.
I don't.
You weren't involved. You don't know if anybody has pictures of anybody doing anything.
I don't, and I
all
don't
you
want
know
to.
and all you want to do is run a race and
That's
talk
all.
about how you would work for Yakima. Fair?
Right, that's right.
All right.
I didn't have anything on my social media to scrub either, and that's things they're saying too,
Yeah.
that I scrubbed. You know me.
I don't see you as a subversive of
I
any kind there, Janice, to be
I
honest with you.
know.
You might want to think that you've got a ninja side, maybe, I don't know.
Well,
but-
I took Kung Fu for
yeah,
a while.
as far as I know, you don't. So let's get on to the other aspects then of what you see as what you could bring to the table and what do you want to work on. I mean, health issues is one thing.
Yes.
City isn't directly involved with health, but in certain ways, in partnerships and what have you.
Right.
So what do you see going forward?
I'm big on partnerships in all of these cases. I'm really interested in it. Well, after canvassing, I'm sorry, I got to get next to the mic. After canvassing, I learned a lot about what some of the my constituents want, and of course they line up with what I thought they would. The crime. We in District 4 we had some really heartbreaking things happen this summer. We had the gentleman shot in his yard on 24.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's now can't walk. We had a family on Cornell who were just house hunting, and now they don't have a husband and a father anymore. And then there was a gang. Somebody got hurt in the crossfire over on Nob Hill. And those are things that are scaring people, and rightly so. So that's one thing that I really want to that's one of my prime issues on my platform to deal with. But then talking to other people, infrastructure is one of mine too, and everybody wants better roads and safer roads, and they don't want, and they want something to be done about street racing, which is, I think that the council has begun to address that already, but I'd like to make sure that it gets done.
Yeah.
And then, of
So
course,
you parked the Mustang that you used to race in back in the day, right?
yeah,
That's got a
right.
big old tarp over it. All of that.
it does. I bring it out late
Just
at
to
night.
show it off, yeah. Okay. Well, those are certainly things that I think that a lot of people in Yakima are concerned about.
Yes.
But everybody can list the concerns, and not everybody has solutions.
Right.
Um,
And and solutions are the hard part, of course. But I think if there are cities that are addressing these problems, and I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel. I think we can take the lead of that some of the other places have done. Do some research, and maybe even invite some people in to the table who know how to do this.
sure.
There are committees that are working on this. The police are working on it. I had a really fun ride along with the police about a month ago. Well, I can't say that it was
To say
really
fun, was it a shootout?
well, there was a homicide.
Oh boy.
But no, the fast car part was really fun with the siren. That was
Yeah.
fun.
Okay.
But no, it was sad because we did respond to a homicide, and it turned out that the person was justifiable in his actions, and he protected his family. They put him in the car with me when I was by myself, but there's a partition between the front and the back, and so, but I could hear, and I could see him and hear him, and I felt horrible for him. He was gutted, and part of it was because he didn't know if his family was safe, and part of it, I'm sure, is because he had to shoot someone.
Sure.
Yep.
But the police were great because they kept assuring him that his family was safe. They were very good to him on the way. I was so impressed. And I was also impressed when I took the tour of the police station, because they have a lot more going on than I thought. And they do a lot of training. And of course they have to do a lot of training now because they've got some new legislation that they have to deal
they
with.
certainly have some more hoops to hop
Yeah,
to
right.
in order to keep us
Right.
safe. That's for sure.
So, yeah, I think, I'd like to do more of that and work with them and see what see what's happening with that. And,
Gotcha.
And so,
I think most people don't really realize how big a job it is and all that goes into it. It's like, well, you're just hop in your car, put on a blue suit, and away you go.
it's
More
not,
than that.
Yeah, it's not that.
What anything the council's been doing particularly right or wrong that you would address, either by support or by coming up with something new or different?
Well, one thing I would like to see is less infighting and more work.
Is that structural or is that personalities, do you think?
I think it's personalities,
Yeah.
and that's always going to be a factor. But it doesn't help. That's more distraction. It doesn't help them get the job done.
We had two members of this group censured at one time or another,
Yeah.
and I don't ever recall that happening
Yeah.
in our past. So
Well-
just a little more volatility here.
And I think another thing that was wrong, and it's not really the council's fault per se, but should have happened much. The charter didn't include when someone doesn't show up for work that they don't get paid, and they get to keep their seat. I think that was appalling for someone to be getting paid to be a council member and spending over a year not showing up
Yeah.
and collecting his money.
Well, and let's face it, the people who wrote the charter when they wrote it, I mean, that was an
Well, they
unthinkable
never-
thing. Nobody would imagine anybody would act
right,
like
yeah.
that,
Right.
right?
Right.
And we don't have a crystal ball, and we don't know if it would. If it happened, anyone could say, "Hey, I'm on the council now. I think I'm going to sit back and collect my money, and
Yeah.
I might show up, I might not." And it's just so. I think it's unfathomable to most people that someone would do that. So
Right. But that's going to be on the ballot, right?
I believe so.
So,
Yeah.
and then we move, isn't it, Lance?
Yep.
Be, yeah, it's part of a challenge. There's, two charter amendments coming
That's
up?
right. Mhm.
Yeah. All right. What else?
And describe yourself politically. How would you describe yourself politically?
I would say that this might be an oxymoron, but I'm a moderate progressive. Sometimes I'm conservative. I'm fiscally conservative, but sometimes I'm from social services, based. I'm from nonprofits, so I have a more, I guess, liberal slant when it comes to taking care of people, and the programs that do that. But I guess that puts me right smack dab in the middle. And I'm really good at hearing both sides and understanding both sides. And sometimes I'm sure my friends are annoyed because I play devil's advocate. But I won't make a decision until I understand both sides of a situation. So I guess that makes me a moderate.
Any, as we run out of time here, Janice, we were telling everybody, in the event that you're one of the top two, and there's 3 in your race?
4.
4. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, you're right, 4. In the event that you're one of the top 2, we'll have everybody, the top 2 winners back for more in-depth stuff. This is sort of the get to know you kind of moment. So anything else you want the community to know about you, or where you're at on the issues? The election is now a week away.
I know, it's getting here. I'm just trying to reach as many people as I can, even if it gets to 105 degrees.
Yeah, which it may.
Yeah. And I really love this town, and I think it has super potential. But we've got to focus. We've got to focus on what we need to do, and it's really hard to do that when there's so many disruptive elements happening.
Right.
So.
All right. Well, imagine this. Push the old button, ding! You walk into the elevator, and Yakima shuffles in behind you. So all of you are in the elevator now. You're going up 5 floors. You got 45 seconds to make your why you should vote for me pitch. What do you want everybody to hear?
Well, that I have lived here all my life. I understand, and I've seen the changes that have happened. Inevitably, they happen. I think that we can do a lot towards, trying to I would like to put a dent in the lack of affordable housing and the homelessness issue, as well as the crime, and making sure that, citizens have a safe place to live where they can raise their families and enjoy themselves and not say, oh, Yakima, Crackama, whatever they call it. I don't want to hear that. I want people to say, this is where I'm from and I'm really proud of it. And so that's what I want to start. It's going to take a while, but I'd like to start that ball rolling.